Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock, Monday, October 28th, 2019. We are here for the regular trustees meeting, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a motion before us. Do we have any additions, modifications?
Yes, board under zoning. Before bi-weekly, I'd like to add right-of-way public nuisance resolution.
Okay. Seeing nothing, hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to excuse Ms. Wallace from today's regular trustee meeting.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $365,093.62 for the October 23rd, 2019 payroll.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $260,238.05 for warrants through October 24th, 2019.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
And I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the October 14th, 2019 regular trustee meeting and the October 24th, 2019 special meeting.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. I believe we have a pre-scheduled speaker today. So,
Yes, board, we have a member of the, Janet, from the Dayton Development Coalition, give a presentation. We've done a lot of work with the coalition lately and decided to bring them in and explain what they do for our region and what they could do for Beavercreek Township. So, Janet?
Yeah,
Great.
thank you. I'm Janet Harp, Dayton Development Coalition. Thanks to all of you for having me here today. So are you familiar at all with the coalition and what we do? Yes, we are the region's economic development organization, and we are a mix of both public and private investors. So just as a brief overview, we are separated, or not separated, we have 4 what we would call program offices. So we have our Jobs Ohio team, we have an aerospace and defense team, we have an advocacy team, and also we have a small venture capital group. So our Jobs Ohio team works pretty closely with all of our community. We have 14 county area in which we participate, and we are one of 6 network partners for the Jobs Ohio, which is the privatized economic development group for the state. What I'd like to say about that, we have a site development team that works to promote all of the areas to bring. I'm sorry. So we work with companies that want to come to Ohio, or we want them to come to Ohio, and we work with them on all of the sites that we have throughout our regions, many of them being in Greene County. We also have worked with Ohio University very closely here in your region. When they first came into the area, they contacted us and we helped them meet a lot of people who are important to them. We helped them to work closely with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And let's see, the other thing I want to make a point of is our PDAC process. And so PDAC is the Priority Development and Advocacy Committee, and it's the region's intake process for projects trying to get. I'm not doing a very good job.
Oh, you're fine.
You're fine.
Take your time.
You're fine.
And I don't talk in public very often. I usually set that up for everybody else in
Neither do we.
our organization to do it. So, which I'm not very good, obviously, at doing it. But anyways, the PDAC process is the process in which organizations, communities, universities compete to get, not really compete, but want to get capital investment dollars from the state. So we actually run that process. We don't make the decisions or anything, but Amy Shrimp on our team sort of is the intake person for those projects. We have committees from 5 different areas, which are economic development, transportation, aerospace and defense, lifestyle and health, healthcare. And the different committees meet and rank these projects that come in. And Amy will help communities, help organizations understand and really highlight their projects, and so they get ranked higher in the process. So we run that process. Amy is always willing to come out and help organizations do those things so that they get highlighted. So, golly. So I only brought one, of course, instead of enough for everybody, but these are sort of the things that are important to you to see that we are winning projects, we are adding jobs and capital investment into our region, which translates to, I know you guys have a lot of housing going on right now, which is fantastic. And those projects are what really drives that, the growth in our communities. It doesn't happen organically. We're out there every day bringing companies to the region, helping companies in our region grow. Pretty much anything you can think of with economic development. I don't know if there's any questions that you guys may have. Like I said, we are a mix of private and public partners. We need our communities to invest in the work that we do in the region, and that's actually why I'm here. We would love for you to become an investor.
Okay.
We are already really working on behalf of the region anyways, but we certainly would like you to participate with us.
Board, I'll just point out a couple things too. One thing the DDC has done for us without actually being a member, obviously, is just all the Ohio University work and the relationship at Russ Research Center in the township. But recently, Ed and I and the Dayton Development Coalition did a complete inventory of land available in the township, and they have added it to their list that they'll send out if someone sends them a project.
Right.
It's now on the inventory list as
Right.
well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, and they were very excited for the opportunities, obviously, around the airport and the investment in infrastructure that the township and the county have invested into that area, as well as some of the opportunities even across the street from the government center and the Beaver Park PUD research there, not research, I'm sorry. Yeah, the development across the street from us, as well as Valley Springs area, and that was a whole afternoon. We just went to each, and they GPS verified everything and took essentially a land inventory on our behalf. So appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yep, and those are promoted. We have a lot of different activities that we do with like site selectors from across the country, really. We often will bring them into the region and bring them out to talk to different businesses in the area.
Sure.
We would bring them to talk to OU. What is it like to do business in Beavercreek Township? This is what the township does for us. We've got this great relationship. So those are just some of the types of activities that we do with site selection as well.
And so the takeaway that you're looking for is for the township to become a member of?
That is our recommendation, as well as staff's recommendation on just the efforts that we're doing with economic development. This takes us to essentially the next level. It's Ed and I do attend a lot of functions put on by the DDC, and essentially they're allowing us to go. But I think it's time that we become an official member. The county's a member, Ohio University is a member, and City of Beavercreek's a member, and obviously when we're looking at some of the things that are coming out, I just read today, another major defense contract was awarded to a Beavercreek company who is looking to expand in Beavercreek
Right.
Township.
There's several of them,
Yeah,
actually.
so I think it's time and to move forward with that. And I'm not asking for a decision today. If there is a
Right.
consensus, we'll move forward with the process on what we need to do to become a member and the cost obviously associated with that.
And what is the cost associated?
It's $5,000.
$5,500.
Yeah, $5,500.
One time or annually?
Annually.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was a really great article in the DBJ last week. I can share it with you, when I get back to the office, but it had several Beavercreek companies that are looking to expand and, companies that aren't in Beavercreek currently that want to come to Beavercreek. I can share that with you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation and for the information.
Presentation.
No, it was well done. And then we'll continue to discuss this, I suppose,
Yeah.
and,
Okay.
it seems like it makes a lot of sense, so,
Awesome.
does.
Very good.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'll leave these materials with you too.
Yeah, if you give them to me, I'll make copies for everybody.
Or if you wanna
I will do
email,
that.
if you email them to
I sure
Alex,
will.
he can then
I'll-
circulate
that's
them
what I'll do.
electronically.
Yeah.
I'll email them to you.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Perfect,
All right.
thanks. You're welcome to stay for the next 4 hours, or you can leave.
I'm good. I'm gonna go let my dog out. Before I go back to the office.
All right, moving on, seeing no citizens desiring to speak, we have no old business, we move on to new business, Veterans Day proclamation.
Thank you, Board. It's that time of year. We do it usually the meeting before Veterans Day on November 11th. And this is, what I have before you is the updated information for our veterans and sons or daughters that are also serving in the military or are veterans. This year we added, and I'm proud to announce, we added the deputies in the substation as well to this list.
Great. I'll make a motion to approve a proclamation in honor of veterans employed by Beavercreek Township. Whereas on November 11, 2019, Beavercreek Township will observe Veterans Day, pausing to honor every veteran who has ever worn one of our nation's service uniforms. And whereas, as we pay tribute to our veterans, we are mindful that no ceremony can repay their debt, the debt we owe each and every day for their service to our country. And whereas each time our freedoms have come under assault, our veterans have responded with resolve, courage, and a willingness to sacrifice. And whereas under the most demanding of circumstances and in the most dangerous corners of the earth, America's veterans have served our country with distinction and valor. And all veterans deserve our gratitude and praise for their selfless acts and for the duty served to our great country. Whereas on this day, Beavercreek Township wishes to honor employees of the township who are veterans and or are currently active in the Military Reserve Unit, namely Steve DuBois, Air Force, Sean Fowler, Coast Guard, Eric McComas, Army National Guard Active Reservist, Mike Mitchner, Army, Sergeant Christopher Moore, Air Force, Rob Negri, Navy, Ben Northrop, Air Force, John Ostrowski, Air National Guard Active Reservist, Doug Ranzel, Army, Deputy Jeff Thomas, Navy, Trustee Deborah L. Wallace, Army. And whereas on this day, Beavercreek Township also wishes to honor employees of the township whose sons and daughters have served or are serving in one of America's military branches, namely Jan Schultz, son Michael Ross Schultz Navarra is a Marine Corps veteran, Lieutenant Ed Miller, 2 daughters on active duty, Eileen, Army, and Lindsay, Navy. DC Scott Dorston, son Jacob Dorston, is on active duty in the Marine Corps. And my own son, Eric S. Kretz, who is on active duty in the Air Force.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio extends its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes for success in their future endeavors to these employees and their sons and daughters who have served and are serving so well. Be it further resolved that we urge all citizens to pay due respect and gratitude to all veterans for their sacrifice and service to our country. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of Beavercreek Township to be affixed this 28th day of October 2019.
Thank you, Board. Just also highlight today also is First Responder Day, so I'd like to recognize our first responders, our fire department, our Beavercreek police officers, and our sheriff who protect the unincorporated area of the township for all that they do in serving not only us locally, but the community as a whole.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alex, will you email that to me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right, moving on. Greene County Sheriff's biweekly report.
Thank you, Board. On page 4 of your packet is the biweekly report for the Sheriff's Office. Are there any questions?
The only question I had was related to an incident last night, which appeared to be in the township, but it may have been on a neighboring community. There were a lot of helicopters circling over Narrows Reserve.
I can't speak to the helicopter, I can
Okay.
speak to some drones.
Okay, maybe that's what they were then.
There was an incident that was never substantiated in the Narrows, involving some people that were in the Narrows, that there may have been
Okay,
something going on, and we responded, other agencies responded, and we could never substantiate any claims. Primarily, that's the Greene County Parks and Rec District, and the park rangers were responsible. We were assisting them.
good, okay. Otherwise, I had no questions on your report.
I had none on the report. Like the details always. Thank
Any
you.
points of awareness we need to be on the lookout for as far as what's coming up between now and the end of the year?
So just Beggars Night this Thursday,
Okay.
and we'll have extra patrols out for
Okay.
the neighborhoods, and just encourage everyone to drive safely and smartly and during those times.
Absolutely, great, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, HR.
Thank you, Board. On page 21 of your packet is the biweekly report for HR. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I had none.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 26 of your packet is the biweekly report for the zoning department. And, oh, I'm sorry, I did forget one.
Insertion.
Yeah, the insertion one. I do have a resolution here. Ed and Lori are here to explain the situation of the right-of-way public nuisance. And I do have a clean copy now. It's the same
And
one.
there's some pictures attached to show you where that's at. It's over in Hunter's Point. I have a basketball hoop that's out in the road. I initially sent a letter to the owners of the basketball hoop explaining where the right-of-way was and telling them they needed to move it. I didn't get a response to the first letter. A couple weeks later, I sent them another letter, did not get a response to that one, so this is the result. I consulted with Ms. Frick as to what our options were, and she was kind enough to provide me with the language for the resolution and then a letter that will be going out to them with a
This
copy
is-
of the resolution.
This is not at the end of a cul-de-sac, obviously.
No, it is actually
right
on the
here.
corner.
So right here.
Yeah, right here, yeah. It's on the corner of Red Barn Way, and their address actually is on Red Barn Way.
Here's the driveway.
But as you can see from an old picture, that's the basketball hoop that they had out in 2018, and then they must have brought it in for the winter and put it back out again. Yeah, I tried to work with them and I just couldn't. I had no contact or anything.
Sure.
Nothing at all. They had my phone number to call if they had any questions.
And so obviously it creates, on a main thoroughfare like that, it creates a safety hazard.
It
for
does,
drivers, for kids
and
on
as a
bikes.
mother,
and for
I've got a
kids
question
playing.
why you would want your kids playing basketball on the street, but,
Right.
you know,
This is one thing that we do address with the homeowners association to let them know to inform their residents. I do have a meeting tonight, ironically, with the executive board for the HOA for Hunters Point, and I'll bring it up again. But not only is this a safety and our concern, but then when it starts to snow, which looks like potentially at the end of the week, we may have some flurries, but not, no. But it is difficult to plow around them. It also causes issues there as well.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I would just make a motion to pass the resolution as presented.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve a resolution regarding the matter of declaring an object located within the right-of-way to be a public nuisance and ordering removal of the object pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5571.14A as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Board. And next item is now the biweekly report for the zoning department. Obviously, we kind of had a little bit, a record of the amount of housing permits that came in during this 2-week period. Ed is here to answer any questions.
I think you had a flurry of activity.
I think that can be explained basically by the fact that MI Homes was pre-selling lots that didn't exist in the new section of
Sure.
Claiborne Greens, and once that section was recorded, the dam broke, so 14 of those 21 house permits were from
Yeah, mine.
section 5 of Claiborne Greens. So I don't expect that to make a trend, but it does kind of catch us up with where we were last year. We've had 2 or 3 more since I wrote this report, and I'm just hoping at this point that we can stay even with last year and finish the year at about the same level as last.
All right.
Very good. And so with regards to, I'm trying to think, is it not, what's Bexley Hills fall under, River West?
Yes.
Where is that in its next step?
As far as I know, the plans for those 2 sections on the west side of Shepherd are under revision.
Okay.
There was one change that came to my attention that we all agreed qualified as an incidental modification. It's actually something that was mandated by the EPA about crossing active streams. So they had to make some changes to roadway alignment that we agreed to under the circumstances. Didn't have a whole lot of choice, but they qualified as incidental modifications. But so they are working on the plans. I don't have any idea when to expect them to come before the county, though. I just don't know.
And then Stone Ridge on Treybine? Any
Stone
update
Ridge
there?
is under construction. We've issued 1 house permit, which sort of left me scratching my head for a minute. I thought, how can I issue a house permit for a street that doesn't exist? And in doing the legal research, we determined that though we can withhold zoning permits if the subdivision hasn't been recorded, in this case it has been recorded, and so we don't have the legal authority to withhold a permit. What we have done is notify the builder, the developer, that there will be no public services available to any residents of the area until the infrastructure's been accepted by the township.
Okay.
So-
So with regards to if there were a fire during construction before the road is in?
Sorry about your luck. As well as construction workers. We got into some clogged up areas in Woodridge when they had people working on homes before the roads were built, and we simply can't, we don't want to put our own first responders at risk and our equipment at risk for getting stuck, but the public safety is the larger public. It's not just
Right.
what a developer might need. If they keep wanting to phase their construction activities this way, they need to be aware of the risks that they're taking.
And then Nathaniel's Grove, did we work out a secondary access with the new phase?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it looked like
With
they
a,
cut one in and paved it already, so just,
along with a promise that it would only last until the fall of next year. That the next section will include the new, the connection street and all the related infrastructure would all be installed along with the street.
okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Board. Also, I attached the TAC agenda from the October 17th meeting.
Can you provide any highlights on that as far as what you want to reference?
Let's see. I thought one of the highlights of the TAC meeting was the review done of the preparations for making the PDAC decisions. So the staff of MVRPC was available following the TAC meeting to anybody who wanted an orientation on how to make that application. That's an application, an annual application form process that happens right now. Those applications were due in the first week of October, I believe, and Alex and I have spoken about it a lot. We believe that it's, if not likely, it's at least possible that by this time next year we will be submitting such an application. We don't know for sure yet, but we need to become aware of that process.
What's your opinion of the cost benefit to join DDC? We already have Greene County Economic Development advocating for us. They're a
Right.
member. And if you have the land, they will come.
And Greene County is a member and so forth. I think part of my thinking is kind of a fairness principle. We're already taking advantage of the services, the benefits of membership, if you will. We're reaping some of those benefits. For example, I attended a breakfast, the annual aerospace breakfast sponsored by the Dayton Business Journal a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, there was Dayton Development Coalition as a leading sponsor of the breakfast and circulating throughout the room and making connections and so forth. And I think to qualify for an enhanced level of attention from DDC, enhanced beyond what we're already getting by virtue of the fact that OU has joined and the city is a member. And for what it's worth, Janet lives here. So we get some attention from them already. But the introductions that they've made already and the number of events that we've attended over the last year and a half have been, I think, pretty priceless to us.
Is the airport a member?
I do not know if
Through the county
through
at
the
least,
county.
but I don't know whether they have an
I
individual.
don't think the airport board itself is a member.
And
I
then
can
is
look at
Valley
it.
Springs Farms a member?
No, I don't think so.
I doubt that.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the information.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay. IT?
Thank you, Board. I do have just updated numbers. They're going back and auditing the ticketing there, and several meetings ago, I discussed an issue with the ticketing. So in the packet, it just automatically populates in the spreadsheet I have, but it didn't look right to me, so I went back and talked to Back to Business. Currently, we have for the year to date, so that would have been last Thursday, 419 tickets for the year and 15 tickets that are open. So we're going back through and kind of auditing those months where the new firewall was sending a report twice a day, which was creating 2 tickets a day. So we got to go back through and really go through each of the tickets. So it's 419 tickets for the year, and currently, as of last Thursday, 15 open tickets.
So, these other numbers are, through the same period, or are they total for 2017 and 18? So
So-
the 918, is that for all of 2018 or through the same period?
So that's on 2018's tickets. Yeah, that's throughout the year. You mean?
That's the entire year?
Yeah, that's the entire year.
It's not through the same point in October?
No, it's not
Okay.
a month-to-month comparison to the
Okay.
year before. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And when do we, I know I've asked this before, when do we decide how we proceed next year?
Yeah,
With
I'm
regards
gathering
to
all that
per
information.
incident or
I had
unlimited?
before I left, I did reach out to Laura to discuss that from Back to Business IT, so that we're ready for any recommendations to the board for budget time. We will have one major budgeted purchase for the rest of the year, and that's the Phase 2 that was essentially approved with the Phase 1 last year. Budgeted Phase 2 for this year, and that's to update the servers and everything. So I'll have that hopefully by the November 12th meeting, because it'll be on Tuesday because of the Veterans Day.
Okay. I guess where is the tipping point to where it makes more sense to go on a per incident versus on a?
Well, once again, anytime we do anything major, you see that uptick of tickets. So, so for example, you look at September of 2017 when we had 138 tickets that month. That uptick was obviously when we implemented Office 365. So we've seen a little bit of uptick as well once we've gone to the new firewall, which has blocked several websites. So we have to go through and update. These are safe websites for us to visit. So we've seen a little uptick in the last couple of months on that. And then obviously I think once we institute the new Phase 2 and VMware, you'll see another uptick. So I'll have a recommendation. Anytime we will have Back to Business in here making a presentation on 2000, much like we just did with the Sheriff's Office, same thing for 2020. And I'll have the updated information also and recommendation by staff, whether we go to a ticketed or
Okay.
unlimited, which was kind of what we have now.
Okay. All right, moving on. Road Department.
Thank you, Board. First item is the maintenance agreement for the Beavercreek Historical Society. It is on page 35 of your packet. Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions.
I had no questions.
I have none.
So, I'll make a motion to approve the maintenance agreement with the Beavercreek Historical Society as presented and authorize the Township Administrator to sign for the Board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the 2019 road report. It's also in your packet. And there's also a motion on page 34 and documents to sign. Are there any questions?
When will it snow?
January.
Okay. Then we should be good. I'll make a motion to accept the 2019 road report as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. And last item for the road
Before you
department.
move on, I'm sorry. You won't mind if I include the 45 point, I'll put the miles, the number of miles?
Sure.
Like we
Yeah.
normally do? if that's all right with everyone.
45.513 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board. And last item is the biweekly report on page 49. Are there any questions? Other than when it's going to snow.
There is a couple of updates since
Go ahead.
this came out. They are paving River Reserve Section 3, or at least trying to today for final paving, so we should have that on board by the end of the week. The goal is to pave Claiborne Green Section 3 in the next week or so.
On River Reserve, is that widening, is that complete? Did it just widen the berm, or are they trying to create a turn lane? Or
No, it's not a turn lane, it'll match the one from Phase 1,
Okay.
but they're not doing the overlay
So
this year.
an accel, decel
Right.
ish lane. It
And
does
a
look
left-hand-
pretty narrow to be an acceleration
Yeah,
or
and our left-hand
deceleration.
in lane.
Okay.
Speaking of that, they started Friday on widening Factory Road for a right-hand turn lane onto Shakertown. If you can, avoid the area, because it's a mess. The other goal is to do some work on the Yellow Brick Road within the next couple weeks if weather holds, to get that alignment straightened out. At this point, they do not anticipate any road closing, so.
Are they putting are they creating a right turn only lane
Yes.
there? Okay, that's what I thought.
As of Friday afternoon, it was really hard to tell what they were doing. So we had barrels all over and it was kind of a
But, yeah.
mess.
Elevation wise, they appear to be ready to pave or very close.
Right.
So,
at least part of it.
except I don't understand the, Alpha Bell, portion. It looks like they didn't move it over far enough at the top of the hill.
They stopped short,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I think they decided that they were not gonna get that in this year.
Okay,
That's when they punted back to factory, is my understanding, so.
okay.
So you're gonna try and get all that in and then go back and,
Yes, at least
Cause they're gonna have to
turn
move a
lane,
section over. They
Yeah.
put in a catch basin.
yeah, they're at least trying to get the turn lane in and the modifications to yellow brick done before the end of the year. And then finish the project up next year, cause they have till June 30th, I do believe, by contract.
So they're probably not gonna put in the light until next year.
Oh, no, the lights will not be until next year. And that new section of,
That's what everybody keeps asking,
yeah,
when's the light?
well,
coming?
the new section of Shakertown will not be open, so. Right now, it's a little confusing, just dodge the barrels.
We were told by
So
the.
it should be a
county-
good drag strip for the sheriff. So, is what we're saying.
Similar
Right
to
now,
Valley
light,
Springs.
light poles
Dirt
are, we were told by the county engineer, for the steel for the light poles is about a year out on order.
wow.
Did they wait too long to order them?
No, I think they ordered them as a part of the beginning of the project, but you're waiting on that backlog, so I think they ordered in time, cause, some of the projects we talked about with the county engineer is when you start ordering some light poles now to be ready
There's a
for the
pile of
projects.
light poles at the end of Township Road.
Those are the old ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Which will be on the next agenda, by the way. I have been working with the city on that. It was transferred a long time ago in corporation, just never recorded. So I will have on the next meeting, it's actually legal's reviewing the document now, shouldn't be really a big issue, but is to actually put that property that you're talking about, Mr. Kretz, in the township, or
Into
from
the
the
city.
townships in the city's name,
Yep.
yes. City's been using it for years as a storage area.
Yeah, there was a pile of them back there.
Yeah. And that's when they're replacing the old ones, cause they're going to the new style of light poles. So those are the ones that are been replaced over the years.
So, Mr. Park, do we only have 3 out of service, or do we just, are the other 2 that are at the body shop part of the 3, or do we really have 5?
Actually, we have 2 out of service. And cut and paste, the reserve is back in,
Okay,
one of them. So right now, it's 2 out, 3 to go. Or at least that's what it was when I left my building a half hour ago.
okay,
But I have one in the bay, so who knows when I get back.
okay. That was my only question. Thank you, Mr. Parks.
One other question, sorry, on the LED project we did several years ago.
Mhm.
So how are all those lights holding up? So like the tunnel and everything else, are we getting the life that we anticipated? Have we?
We have not had any, well, we have some repairs at Threes to do, and they are actually coming out, but that was due to the tornado.
Sure.
And I believe in the tunnel, there is one out that we just haven't called in
Okay.
yet.
Okay,
Other than that, they've held up great.
good. Okay. Very good, thank you.
Great.
Good board, last item I have for today is on page 50 of your packet is the bi-weekly report for the fire department. If there's any questions, Deputy Chief Mertz is here to answer them.
I had none other than I love all the public outreach this time. That's amazing. Let's keep that up. We need
Crews
as much
enjoy
of
doing
as
that.
we can.
It's part of why we're here.
Is there any awareness items we need to be conscious of between now and the end of the year relative to the fire department?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we've gone through the apparatus situation that you're already aware of, and, you know, we're currently working with our accreditation process, kind of waiting on the levy results.
Sure.
But, doing a lot of planning for that, but, other than that, just, you know, operation as usual, doing a lot of training and so forth, but nothing critical or anything that's coming up.
Okay, very good. I had no other questions, thank you.
Me neither.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board, that's all I have.
All right, moving on, Ms. Frick?
Nothing,
Ms. Aaron's?
nothing.
Miami Valley Regional Planning, Ms. Wallace isn't here, we'll get caught up on that next.
Board, I'll have something, just to update you on that, kind of related to the city township meeting. City manager and I did attend, along with county officials, the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission on Recovery. FEMA has approved the hiring through a consultant firm is what they're recommending, to hire this position through Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. The local match will be funded by the Dayton Foundation from money that was raised through the tornado event and sent to the Dayton Foundation. This position will work for everybody related to the tornado, whether we're member or non-member through the Regional Planning Commission. Our next meeting is November 14th, where we'll talk about the selection process. Big issue that is coming up that was discussed at that meeting, not necessarily an issue for Beavercreek Township, but coming up with the census, there is some concern from local jurisdictions affected by the tornado, mostly in Montgomery County, that they're going to see a significant decrease in the census count, that essentially they're going to get a snapshot starting April 1st of 2020. We did talk about reaching out not only to the affected areas, but the cities and townships surrounding the affected areas to see if they've seen an increase. I will tell you that the city of Xenia has reported to seeing a significant increase of homelessness since the tornado. So they're going to be working to make sure that they do get the counts, and then if the residents that are either living someplace else or unfortunately homeless, if they plan on returning to the community, try to get a good count. We're working through that process now as a part of that committee. Like I said, it doesn't really affect Beavercreek Township, but we are part of that regional discussion. That's all I have for Regional Planning Commission.
Okay. We had TAC update, Greene County Regional Planning, we had the meeting last week, a couple things. Actually, they touched base on the census, and there is a shortage of census workers. There's too many people employed in the economy. So a lot of good jobs between $15 and $40 an hour are going untaken right now. So there was a call for census workers, and
I
then
can speak to that though, because they had a, I don't even know if it was a meeting, it was downtown, Edwin C. Moses. I know several people who have applied and have applied again, and then went to that meeting and were told to apply again.
really,
So I appreciate the call, but the acceptance is behind, and my son actually was the one who went down and investigated it more, because I told him about it. And just to let people know, if you know other people too, that because the census actually isn't gonna start until March, they're not hiring now. So it's still good for people to apply, but it's not a something right now.
You'd need a
It's
job between now and then.
Right, it's a next year kind of thing,
Yeah,
so just so people know and to keep applying.
well, and a
too.
big part of the concern is because it seems like for whatever reason, those numbers are down. So they're concerned that the census is not going to come in time, and they're not gonna have, it's gonna be an extended period for the census to be done. That was the message they gave at the meeting, correct, if I remember correctly. Everything else was pretty standard. We did talk about, River Reserve, Ed, and, there was some concern with regards to the roads, how they're going in, the tie-ins, and honestly, kudos to Ed. Ed pretty much stood up and took over the meeting, and in 10 minutes answered everyone's questions, and everybody was on board with where we were going. And I really appreciate, Ed, that you being there and having your finger on the pulse of that, because it really did make a difference for everyone in the meeting. So, and that was it for.
An update on just that since it was brought up at the regional planning and Ed reported it back to me, I did have a conversation with the county engineer, and she is definitely considering doing a corridor study of Indian Ripple based on all the growth. She she actually wants to solicit our input as a part of that project, obviously because it's all in the township, and a lot of the roads coming off Indian Ripple are maintained by Beavercreek Township. So we'll be working, and most likely be a project next year, but we'll be working with the county engineer to do a study. That will include traffic counts, and then recommending either widening, turn lanes, traffic lights, and so on.
Very good. We know we don't have a health update. Wright Patterson Advisory Board,
Nothing.
nothing to update. Nothing on Township Association, correct?
No.
Investment, Mr. Kretz?
No update. We need to reconvene as a committee essentially and discuss next steps or options. The only other thing that I wanted to ask, I guess, or add was relative to our commitment or obligation to the county as far as direction of the funds that they spun off to each township and jurisdiction to be reinvested. So what do we need to do there, and what's our deadline?
Deadline's the end of this month, or I'm putting together the numbers. I met with the county engineer. We are recommending a project that will expand the tax dollars between the county engineer and Beavercreek Township of adding 2 traffic lights. This is why I know it takes such a long time to order poles for the traffic lights. We'll be investing in 2 lights with the county engineer. One would be at Dayton, Xenia, and Orchard. Orchard is Township Road, Dayton, Xenia is a county road. And the other light for safety that we are recommending is Indian Ripple and Factory, same situation. Indian Ripple is a county road, Factory is our road. So we have agreed to assist in funding in that, ordering the poles now, so they're ready to go in. And the county engineer is accepting full responsibility for construction and maintaining the lights. And then as a part of the Orchard and Dayton Xenia project, we did participate last year with the city of Beavercreek in the corridor study from Meadow Bridge to Orchard. We paid for the section that is in Beavercreek Township. It recommended not only a traffic light, but also recommended extending the turn lanes on Dayton Xenia, so extending them so you have a lot more space for a right turn, and extending the Orchard turn lane, and then not by much. So I think we'll have the space to do that. On Orchard, it's the Dayton Xenia that will be, I think it recommended another 20 feet extension.
There's not enough stacking there for the left turn.
Correct. So the county engineer is willing to do that part of the project as well. So she is looking at those projects with a joint project with us. And we may even take the road modifications based on either study, the one that's already been complete with the joint project we did with the city of Beavercreek, and the one I just mentioned with the county engineer on Indian Ripple, and turn that into a Ohio Public Works Commission grant. Obviously, we get, as we saw with the water and sewer project, more people that work together, the greater the points, more likelihood of getting funding for that. And we did, I know your question was about the light, but we're also working with the county engineer on what everybody's been known to call it the Valley Bell Connector as well. And we're looking at construction and an Ohio Public Works Commission grant application for that as well.
Good. Thank you.
All right.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. At 13:49. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week.